Ma Tov. We now welcome the Shabbat by lighting Shabbat candles. It is my pleasure to invite our representatives from the 60th Anniversary Committee. We are so grateful for all of the work that they have done to make this evening possible, and this weekend possible, and this year possible. So please come forward, our representatives from the 60th Anniversary Committee, to light the Shabbat candles. We are on page 121.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As that brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Watch the wires. Yeah, watch the wires. Oh, good. Okay. Now go ahead.
We continue welcoming Shabbat with Kabbalat Shabbat Psalms, starting on page 130 with the words, Lechu Neranana. 135 with the words of Romamu.
Romelu, Romelu, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu, ve'ishtachavu, lehar kosho. Romelu, 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 Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu, ve'ishtachavu, lehar kosho. Ki kadosh, ki kadosh, ki kadosh, ki kadosh, Adonai Eloheinu, ki kadosh, ki kadosh, ki kadosh, Adonai Eloheinu. Romelu, 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 Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu, ve'ishtachavu, lehar kosho. Sing it out, Romelu, 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 Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu, ve'ishtachavu, lehar kosho. Ki kadosh, ki Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu, ve'ishtachavu, lehar kosho.
The word Romamu means to glorify or to celebrate. And hopefully we are beginning to feel that celebratory spirit, which we will continue to aim for. We are turning to page 138 for the words of Lecha Dodi, where we sing of Shabbat as if she is a bride and we are in the most celebratory of weddings. We are on 138.
Lecha Dodi likrat kalai, elai, 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 b'nei Shabbat, mikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai, elai, 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 b'nei Shabbat, mikabela. Zachor leZachor ve'hibur echad, ish mi'anu Elohim yuchad, Adonai echad, ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת,
standing for the Baruchu on page 146.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayers? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Yalalai lai lai, 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 yalalai lai lai. Please be seated. It's my pleasure to invite up our choir to walk around the piano toward the microphone for our next prayer. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech. You who created day and night, created it not one and then the other. You created it rolling from one to the next to the next. We are on page 148. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light,
day, day turns to night.
Thank you. Sometimes when we sing prayers all in Hebrew, if we don't know Hebrew, it can feel a little distant for us. This evening, rather than singing the words Ahavat Olam, we are going to sing a poetic interpretation, Blessed Love. Blessed love, holy love, sacred love, abundant love, source of love, let your love shine down on me. From below, from above, love I hope I'm worthy of, oh source of love, let your love shine down on me. Before the morning light, I already feel it shining. Before I open up my eyes, I already see it shining. When the road is rough, I can feel your love, and that's enough for me. Blessed love, holy love, sacred love, abundant love, source of love, let your love shine down on me. As above, so below, love from whom all blessings flow, oh source of love, let your love shine down on me.
On me and the ones I love shine from below and from above. Protect my family, be a light in me. Shine on me and the ones I love shine from below and from above. Protect my family and shine through me.
Be a light in me. Be a light in me. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We're on page 152, the words of Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
As you might be aware, this month happens to be Pride Month, and in honor of Pride Month, Temple Beth Torah for each Shabbat has shared a poem written by a Jewish poet from the LGBTQ community. And to share our poem this evening, it's my pleasure to invite Jen Van Stel to share the poem with us. Actually, Janice.
Ve'ahavta. Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel, just as God is one, so are we. Just as you shall love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might, so shall you love all people. Teach love, compassion, and understanding to your children when you sit in your home, while you walk on your way, when you retire, and when you arise. Bind these words as a sign upon your arm so that you may fight against prejudice between your eyes, so that you may not be blind to the suffering of others, and write them on the doorpost of your house and gates, so that you remind yourselves and others that intolerance will not be tolerated within these walls.
We are on page 158 with the words of Mi Chamocha, those joyous words that we sang on the other side of the Red Sea. After struggle and years of concern of hope, we are excited to sing with joy on page 158. with all of the energy that celebration takes and planning that celebration takes, I know certain people in this room are very familiar with the energy that celebration takes. We pause a moment to think about the rest that we need so we have the energy to celebrate. We are in need of rest so we have the energy to do all of the fighting that for the things that we believe in the world and for all of the healing that we need to do and all of the hard things. But we also need rest so that we have energy to celebrate, so that we can be here today and sing with joy in our hearts and smiles on our faces. So we turn to page 160 for the words of Hashkivenu, and it's my pleasure to invite back our choir to sing with us, Hashkivenu. While we're waiting for the choir to come up, I encourage you to pause a moment, to take a deep breath in, and to exhale whatever you're leaving behind in this past week, and what rest you're hoping to get this Shabbat. now that we are all rested, we turn to page 162 for the words of Vishamru, the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat forever and ever.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל חודשי לעולם לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל חודשי לעולם לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, לדורותם ברית עולם.
Are we awake and are we prepared? I sure hope so. We have come to the core part of our service, the tefillah. So, oh goodness, there we go. We are on page 164. Please rise in all the ways that we are able. We are going to do Adonai Svatai together, and then a silent Amidah. And when you have your silent prayer finished, whether it's from the words of the page or the words of your heart, then you can feel free to be seated.
Ufiagi tehilatecha. Na Adonai. Na v'tai tiftach. Na v'yagi. Ufiagi
have been speaking about for the past few months. He was already ready to pray for healing. It's always the time to pray for healing, except right now. Except right now, Josh.
I'll wait, Rabbi.
We've been talking about creating a collaborative poem, and so many of you have contributed your memories and your dreams, and it has been such a joy to see this process come together. Reading of the beautiful memories that this community has imprinted on all of our lives, visions that each of you have for our vision together. Many of you shared themes along the lines of growth and membership, and sharing the many other blessings that Temple Beth Torah has to offer with others. Mara, our trustee administrator, and really just, I paused because that word doesn't really cut it. I think she's so much more than that to us. She shared with me, that when she and Marla were crafting the poem, figuring out which piece was going to go in which place, she noticed an important pattern that I wanted to share with you. Our legacy lights the way toward our future. Our legacy of feeling welcomed ourselves has inspired us to welcome others. The comfort and sense of home that Temple Beth Torah has been for us inspires us to be a home for others. Our legacy lights the way toward our future. Before sharing this poem here for the first time for all to experience, I want to share some quick words of thanks. Thank you to each and every one of you who contributed to our poem, making it the beautiful work that it is. Thank you to Mara and Marla for sharing their creative talents and for spending much energy in putting this together. And thank you to Rabbi Shulman for agreeing to share the poem with me. And now, Memories and Dreams, a community poem celebrating Temple Beth Torah's 60th anniversary. I remember when a small group of young Jewish families started to plan for Jewish life for our children and formed the Jewish Community Center in the early 1960s.
I remember the temple kitchen in the original 4-bedroom house on Mission Boulevard. And it had a huge table in the center, and cooking was an elective in Sunday school. I still have copies of those recipes.
I picture a growing community who continues to celebrate and learn together, helping each other become better.
I remember being welcomed by so many kind people when we were new to the community.
I remember finally being old enough to go to the classroom at the top of the parking lot when Temple Beth Torah was on Mission Boulevard.
I picture a synagogue that welcomes young families and creates a sense of community for parents to raise their kids with Jewish customs.
I remember joining Temple Beth Torah and finding so much joy and activity. There were numerous young families with children the same ages as our daughter.
I remember as a young child falling asleep to the soothing singing and prayers during Shabbat services.
I picture a time when the religious school will once again flourish with students overflowing the hallways.
I remember teaching my first kindergarten class in 1976 in the creaky old farmhouse synagogue building on Mission Boulevard.
I remember listening to the sweet voices of our religious school students who sang together in the Temple Beth Torah Junior Choir.
I picture sitting in the sanctuary, surrounded by joyous Shabbat music enhanced by tens of musicians, those from the community and those who joined our community specifically to jam out.
I remember joining Temple Beth Torah in 1985 and finding my home.
I remember as a child and then a teenager going to Sunday school and services in the Red Barn, buildings on Mission Boulevard in the 60s and 70s. Cooking was my favorite elective. And I have fond memories of the fresh baked goods we would make and get to take home.
I remember the joyous Purim spiels bringing together all generations and segments of our community.
I picture my grandkids visiting Temple Beth Torah and seeing their relatives' names on the walls.
I remember a warm, loving time in Tot Shabbat as Temple Beth Torah with Debbie Kaplan. It was the place to start my daughter on her lifelong Jewish learning, and a welcoming place for me as a mother of an active toddler.
Oh, I remember the smell of the etrog in the sukkah.
I remember, as a preschooler, my first memories of a friendly congregation whose humble beginnings began in a building that was an old house off of Mission Boulevard, and the garage was converted to the synagogue.
I picture Temple Beth Torah continuing to be a beacon for learning, praying, and having open arms to all in the community.
I remember in 1989, a bit after the birth of my daughter, I was asked by Rabbi Steve Kaplan to fill in as the lay rabbi for a Shabbat when he was out of town at Camp Swig. I remember the evening prayers and super short sermon went off without a hitch. And I remember that at the end of the service, a woman who came in late and didn't hear that Rabbi Kaplan was off site, came up to me and thought that I was Rabbi Kaplan. Oy vey, did I blush.
I picture people rainbows, varying skin tones and ages, shoulder to shoulder in prayer.
I remember my daughter's Benot mitzvahs in 1990 and 1992 and being prouder than I've ever been. I remember the wisdom and knowledge that Rabbi Steve Kaplan and Rabbi Avi Shulman shared with the congregation.
I remember picking tomatoes before Hebrew school from behind the social hall when the building was on Mission Boulevard.
I remember Rosh Hashanah wrapped in our mother's talitot, mine moonlit in mauves, yours boldly jewel-toned. You welcomed this stranger, and we turned and returned once more.
I look forward to helping the new rabbi and watching our temple grow.
We remember January 10th, 1998. Family and friends gathered with anticipation of our son's bar mitzvah. We remember the talit being presented and the Torah being passed from generation to generation until it reached our son. We remember the hard work and diligence that went into the preparation of leading the service and reading from the Torah. We remember hearing the collective, "Oh," when the curtain was opened, revealing the beautifully catered oneg that followed the service. We remember all the people that helped our son reach this day. Most of all, we remember with pride the day he became a man.
I picture a place families come back to and see old friends.
I remember tears of joy as the Torah was passed from grandparents to parents to our children at their B'nai Mitzvah. Sunday school, I'm not a fool after teaching 5 days at public school, the delight of sharing the morning with Temple Beth Torah 6th graders.
I remember our son, Stephen, proudly and expertly reciting his Torah portion at his bar mitzvah in 2008.
I remember the joy of my daughters becoming bat mitzvah and the fulfillment of my reading from the Torah as I shared my adult bat mitzvah.
I picture a synagogue that brings young families together to raise children with a sense of community.
Life is a blessing. Life is a joy.
I remember June 2011, planting trees in Israel with members of our congregation and friends from St. Louis.
I remember the pride, honor, and pleasure I felt when called upon to light Shabbat candles for the first time Friday, June 10th. I remember vividly our Temple Beth Torah tour of Israel. In particular, Rabbi Shulman had the Bible on his phone, and I read from the book of Jonah in the city of Jaffa.
I picture a return congregational trip to Israel.
Bimhei Rabbi Yameinu. I remember on Simchat Torah we held the unrolled Torah, and Torah upheld us.
I picture being with my lovely friends, gathered in learning and song, at seders and celebrations, together in laughter and prayer. I remember our wedding day at Temple in this month in years past. I remember all the different people there were of many different denominations and races. I remember us all getting along and having a wonderful time. Wouldn't that be nice for everyone in the world today to get along?
I remember the decades of prayers for healing and delicious meals provided by caring Temple Beth Torah friends and strangers, as well as countless calls of support from Rabbi Shulman and others, letting me know I am not alone.
I picture an increase in our membership and a return to the Sunday breakfast of bagels, cream cheese, scrambled eggs, lox, etc.
I remember Simchat Torah 2015. Wait till you see, Michelle whispered as the scroll unfurled in this beginning for me, for all of us. And we filled children's sacks with chocolates that melted on their tongues like Torah's milk and honey.
I remember the day of our children's bar and bat mitzvah at Temple Beth Torah.
I picture more concerts, Purim spiels, and shabarbecues for years to come. I remember I was officiating at a Friday night service and someone's dog had died recently. She asked me if I would add the dog's name to the Yizkor list. I complied with this request and later told Rabbi Shulman about this. He didn't think it was such a good idea.
I remember making cardboard arcade machines for Purim.
I picture friends who met at Temple Beth Torah sitting around the dinner table sharing how excited they are for the upcoming Purim celebration.
I remember the Shabbat after Thanksgiving, salty smell of the bay as I strolled with old and new Temple friends.
I remember June 2016, the beginning of the Temple Beth Torah Community Garden.
I remember a Shiva, the shimmering river of sorrow shared. We lit the flickering flame and drew together in friendship and memory to weave a gentle hug of comfort and love.
I picture a new and improved TBT garden blooming with flowers, vegetables, and fruit trees.
I remember participating in the High Holiday Choir and Purim spiels, enjoying our community. I remember
You remember,
a hot summer's day celebrating the arrival of Rabbi Zoe with a local trivia quiz, ice cream, and social time.
we picture a vibrant future for Temple Beth Torah.
I remember Friday morning Tot Shabbat, Maura Cheryl reading stories, toddlers high-pitched chatter while working on art projects, and my newborn son asleep in his car seat, oblivious.
I remember each summer gathering with Temple friends and community at shabarbecues.
I smell the barbecue at the next milestone barbecue.
I remember the feeling of community with families during Bat Mitzvah year events.
I remember the family class Shabbat dinners before their yearly participation services.
I picture a synagogue filled with young children every Friday night.
I remember friendly Temple Beth Torah ladies reaching out and taking my hand during the family blessing the first time I attended a Shabbat service, feeling that warm welcome and knowing I'd found a spiritual home.
I remember the joy and camaraderie I felt at my adult B'nai Mitzvah.
I envision the open area in front converted to a beautiful garden with fruit trees and flowers and a big gazebo in the middle where we could have Torah study and other activities.
I picture a large, joyous community together under the sukkah during Sukkot.
I remember being married at Temple Beth Torah on June 25th, 2017, and I remember how it looked in the sanctuary.
I remember the smell of hamantaschen baking in the kitchen.
I picture an upcoming bat mitzvah celebrating the diversity of our community while also continuing Jewish traditions.
I remember the first time we sang one of the new songs for High Holidays, and when the song concluded, someone in the congregation clapped. It brought tears to my eyes because of all of the hard work had made someone happy.
I remember June 17th, 2018, waking up thinking of what lay ahead of me that day, and on that glorious day, I became a member of the tribe, Sonia Margalit.
I imagine hearing the sound of voices uplifted, chanting prayers on the high holidays.
I remember Shabbat morning, January 2020, standing on the bima looking out as I recited my bat mitzvah Torah portion from 20 years before. Coolness of the silver yod in my hand, quiver in my voice, faces smiling up at me, sensing the love in the room.
I remember bringing my kids to toddler Shabbat events on Saturday morning and meeting people that have become lifelong friends.
I picture praying, singing, schmoozing, and eating together carefree.
I remember elaborate Purim spiels with true sense of community.
I remember my kids' bar and bat mitzvahs and their pride in accomplishment.
I picture a multi-generational community singing in a sukkah beneath sea green paper chains, earthy gourds, and the full moon, pregnant with promise in the infinite night sky.
I remember being so excited to join a congregation with a female rabbi.
Me too. I remember watching my husband's face light up at a Friday night family Shabbat as he listened to Joel play music that was fun to sing along with.
I remember rocking out at every Rick Wreck and Sababa concert.
I remember making the cardboard cars for Purim.
I picture events that welcome people to come together as a community, a time where we are less worried about COVID and can focus on the joy of gathering in a multitude of venues to learn, pray, and feel a sense of community.
I remember having fun in every Purim spiel we ever put on.
I remember eating latkes at every Hanukkah fair.
I picture a Purim spiel filled with kids and adults, younger members, songs, laughter, and the smell of freshly baked hamantaschen.
I remember making a gift for someone.
I picture singing and dancing to beautiful music.
I wish for peace, safety, and love in the world.
I remember my Tuesday afternoon meetings with Avi, full of warmth, learning, and inspiration for congregational and personal learning and growth.
I remember watching the 7th grade religious school kids standing in front of their Torah portion when we unrolled the Torah on Simchat Torah. And I picture Rabbi Zoe continuing to share her kindness, smiles, and insight with the Temple Beth Torah congregation.
I remember Tuesday nights at Temple Beth Torah, adult midrashah, teen midrashah, and at times BBYO. The energy was high and palpable.
I remember Zooming at 2022's Purim, dancing to the feeling of the prayers, popping bubble wrap when they said that name, then creating my own play for my family, And I picture at a time when our synagogue will have standing room only to enjoy Rabbi Zoe's musical and inspirational Shabbat services.
I picture a post-COVID adult choir lifting the ruach of the high holidays in song.
I remember first arriving to town, driving down Paseo Padre, catching a glimpse of the Temple Beth Torah sign surrounded by flowers, knowing I was home.
I remember when I came to my first Temple Beth Torah service and listening to the rabbi's sermon and knowing this was the temple for me. Everyone was friendly and made me feel welcome.
We picture a vibrant, thriving synagogue where everyone is welcome and Jewish life continues to be the place we go to pray, socialize, and thrive.
Kain Yehiratzon, may this be God's will. With these words of our Temple Beth Torah, we now call to mind those in our community who are in need of healing of body, healing of spirit, healing of soul. If you know someone who's in need of healing, or if you yourself are in need of healing, if you are joining us on Zoom or live stream, I encourage you to turn to the person in the room with you and to share their name or to type their name in the chat. And for those who are in the room with us, please feel free to share their name aloud or in your hearts as my hand passes over your section. For all those names that we've said aloud and those that we keep in our hearts, we turn to page 371 for the words of Mi Sheberach. Mi Sheberach, May the source of continue on page 586 with the words of Aleinu. Please rise in all the ways you are able.
לשבח לדון הכל, לתקרו ליוצא בראשית, ולא עשנו גרויי ארצות, ולא שמענו כמשמעות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם. וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We take this time to think of those who are no longer with us on this earth, but who remain with us in our memories of them and in the way that we continue to walk on this earth. We remember with tenderness those who are in the period of Shloshim, 30 days since burial. If you are observing Shloshim, please rise as I recite your loved one's name. Joyce Lindstrom, remembered by Arlen Bitter Peavy and the Peavy family. On this Shabbat, we remember those whose yahrzeits fall during this past week. Please rise as your loved one's name is read. Motel Bendersky, remembered by Larissa Kravsnovskaya. Erna Grushka, remembered by Monica Silberberg. Anna Karesh, mother of Sarah Leingram. Lieb Kleinerman, remembered by Larissa Krasnovskaya. Ed Malitz, brother of Rosalie Rosenbaum. George Peterson, father of James Peterson. Israel Ben Schoenfeld, grandfather of Ted Bressler. Riva Sendurovich, remembered by Larissa Krasnovskaya. Sarah Yazvoin, remembered by Zoya Kravitz. We now invite all who are observing their first year of mourning to rise at this time. And we now rise as a community with our mourners to say the Mourner's Kaddish on 598. Yitzgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kusha. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yishvei tevel, v'imru, amen. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing, to which we say, Amen. Amen. Please be seated. It's my pleasure to invite Ronnie Peterson to share words of announcement on what is going on in our community.
Mazel Tov to Temple Beth Torah on our 60th anniversary. We look forward to seeing all who RSVP'd at the cabaret evening tomorrow night. Drum roll, please. Thank you. For the results of the Green Challenge. We long ago surpassed our first goal of 60 greening actions by tonight. Then we blew by our reset goal of 120 actions by tonight, to reach a grand total of 219. Thank you to all who participated. Please join us next Friday night, July 1st, for a special Shabbat and Oneg to celebrate Rabbi Zoe's first year as our rabbi. Mazel Tov, Rabbi Zoe. She's in the kitchen. Okay. We'll be doing Shabbat where you are during the month of July. Services will be in person only. In order to experience the simple joy of Shabbat with your friends in the sanctuary without the complications of technology. For those who are unable to attend in person, there will be an opportunity to do Shabbat blessings and mourner's Kaddish on Zoom before services. The schedule for both experiences can be found on the temple calendar. If you have questions, please feel free to be in touch with Rabbi Zoe. It's not too late to join fitness instructor Sherry Plaza for free virtual exercise classes from the comfort of your own home, running now through July 18th. All are welcome and options are offered to accommodate abilities and injuries. Sign up and attend as many sessions as you want of one or both free gentle yoga and keeping it moving classes. On Wednesday, July 13th at 7 p.m., Rabbi Zoe will participate in a panel of local Jewish women clergy to discuss reproductive rights. Where are we? Next steps through Jewish Silicon Valley. Following the panel, there will be a facilitated community conversation with participants and panelists. Advanced registration is required. Thank you to the 60th Planning Committee for making this special evening possible. Thanks to Karen Bressler and Arlen Bitter-Peavy for sponsoring tonight's Oneg, and to Susan Amaro and Janice Fontino for their assistance with the Oneg. Thank you to Josh Cohen, Dave Mackauer, Michelle Eisenbrook, Rabbi Schulman, Joel Siegel, and the TBT Choir for sharing their musical talents. Thank you to Alan Eisenbrook, Tony Monroe, Jim Cohen, and Dave Mackauer for AV support, and to Janice Fontino and Lori Ravenscroft for representing the worship committee. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you to Ronnie for sharing those announcements. Oh, my mic is not on. It didn't count if you couldn't hear me. Thank you also to Ronnie for sharing those announcements with us. How cool that we surpassed our greening challenge by so many. That is so wonderful and such a beacon of hope that when we set our mind to do even some small things, we can accomplish a lot together. We now turn our minds to blessings. And one of the big blessings we have in our lives are family, however you define it. So I encourage you to reach out to family if they are here. If you are not in the same room with somebody who you would like to send this blessing to, I encourage you to close your eyes and to hold them in your heart for a moment. And we hope that they will feel our blessing for them. Yivarechecha. We now are going to share a blessing for our kiddush and motzi, our grape juice, and our challah. And if you are a young person, if you would like to come up and say the blessings with us, that would be really fun. If you don't want to, it's okay, but we encourage you, if you want to come up and say the blessings with us. wherever you are is exactly where you need to be, and we're so glad that you're here. We're just going to do this short one. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Awesome. You guys go take a seat and you'll have some a little later. We are going to conclude with the words we need to hear right now. Achshav. It's my pleasure to invite Michelle Eisenbrock and Rabbi Shulman back up for us to sing this last jam, but also inspiration for where we are to go next. Shabbat Shalom,
Good
everyone.
Shabbat.
Please have some challah and grape juice and or wine on the wall table, not the one that's in the middle of the room. There's also some gluten-free options for those who need and some dairy-free options for those who need. And please enjoy our wonderful, wonderful oneg. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.